Welcome to the Pillars of Purpose podcast with your host, PJ Crescenzo. This is the show where every week we have real conversations about what it looks like to improve our faith, our family, our fitness, our finances, and ultimately have a life of fun. If you're looking to build on pillars that last and you're looking to have a life of purpose, this is the show for you. Thanks for tuning in and look forward to today's episode. Welcome to the Pillars of Purpose podcast. I am super excited and grateful today to have an amazing man, mentor, leader, Ralph DiBugnara on the show. Ralph was one of the first leaders I've ever worked for in the mortgage industry. He's a divisional leader at one of the fastest growing divisions of a top 5 independent mortgage bank and recently ranked by Forbes, actually the #1 independent mortgage bank, New American Funding. He's got an incredible presence on social media. He's an investor. He has a portfolio of short-term rentals and he has an incredible time in his half marathon. So Ralph DiBugnara, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, PJ. That's a good introduction. We could stop it there. I think it's people got the best part of it.
45 seconds in, just listen and then run it out.
Thank you.
All right, so bro, I'm super grateful to have you on. You've been an incredible positive influence when I started my career and somebody that I've looked up to from the sideline. So I'm just going to start ripping. We're going to see how many of these questions we can get through. We'll go rapid fire because it's the only way we know how to do it.
Sounds good, man.
All right, so first question, which I actually don't know. What was your first job in mortgages?
I was a loan officer in 2001. I came into the business. You didn't need a license then. I came in as a loan officer. I did like a training program for like a month, and they just put me on the phones, which was calling the phone book and everything else. But I was a loan officer for like the first few years of my career. I had no idea what I was doing, but there was an abundance of business at the time, so it was easy kind of to get up and going. It's a little bit harder now to start. It was easier to start there. Well, it was just like hard work and being willing to pick up the phone and dial. And so I made a lot out of that.
When was the first time you knew you were either a mortgage guy or you knew you were going to have success in the business?
I think my first month, I thought I was going to be. So I think my first month, my first 2 months, I put in like 15 deals. I was like, I said, I'm going to be rich. I found my calling, I'm going to be rich. Now I will tell you that 85% of those deals died because I didn't know what I was doing. Out of the 15, I probably only closed 2. But I kind of realized it was a business that if I just worked the hours and put the time in, that I could be successful at it. So when I figured out it was just really based around hard work, I thought at that point I was like, all right, I can definitely do this. I'll be here Saturdays, I'll be here Sundays, I'll work till 8 o'clock at night. It kind of fit my profile, which was I was always willing to work if there was money involved. So I think at that point I realized I could be successful here.
Do you think that same framework applies today to a brand new loan officer, that if they just put in the work, they can be successsul?
So I had this conversation recently with my father, who's 75 now and still has 2 jobs. He still teaches. And he doesn't need to anymore. He's got a pension and everything else. But the conversation I had with him last weekend, which is, it kind of plays into this. He said the one skill, and that's someone who's got a doctorate and everything else. The one skill that I realized that has played over the years, and I was just talking to a very close friend about this, is hard work. So I think that even if you're not smart, you're not dynamic, you're not the most socially, in that person, you're the most socially, if you work hard, you will find the level of success. Now, everybody's level of success may be different, but I think if you work hard, 1000% in this business, you could still make a lot of money and do very, very well.
How do you coach somebody in your organization when they don't have a work ethic?
It's hard for me because I didn't do good in school. I was not a good student. I did not think I had a place in the world where I could be successful, if I'm being completely honest with you. I had no idea what I was going to do out of college. And I've really made all of my success out of working hard and then, building a skill set at a craft because I worked hard. But it's very hard for me to coach somebody that isn't willing to work. But I will tell you this. I think you have to find a place for that person where they find some success and they find some positive reinforcement and they find some something that gives them a high in this business.
Once they can start to get a taste of a win, it could unlock the ability to put in more hours and persevere.
You said it better than I did. You got to get them some small wins. I think if you get some people some small wins, they'll find a way they want to work harder it becomes dopamine, right? Yeah, it becomes dopamine.
That's great feedback. All right, so slight transition, but then going back into the same topic with another 10 questions. When did you meet Frankie?
I met Frank in 2007. At the end of the world, the mortgage crash. We met during the mortgage crash. He was working at a company called refinance.com. I was trolling around the world trying to find. I had been a senior vice president at Deutsche Bank at the time, and they closed the mortgage division. So I was roaming around the world trying to find another senior vice president job, and nobody wanted to hire me. So Frankie's company hired me to be a loan officer, and Frankie was the number one loan officer at that time in the front of the room.
Wow.
So
Was it hard? So this is actually twofold questions. Then I'm going to go
okay,
back to Frankie, and then I'll give Frankie a proper intro, even though he's not on the show. Um, Transitioning from LO to leader, what was the toughest thing about that transition? And then what was the toughest thing about transitioning from leader back to
yeah,
LO?
being broke will humble you quick. So I had to humble
Okay.
myself very, very quick. So I got to the point where there was no more money and there was no more options to get any money except the only skill set I knew at the point, which was selling loans. So it was tough, bro. I have a really funny story that my first week at this job, I was really broke. I was living with my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, and we were living in a rent control. I moved into a rent control apartment in the city, and
Wow.
I needed a haircut. I didn't even have money to get a haircut at that point because I was really broke. And so I had her cut my hair. I was like, just shave my head, like, but just do it in a reasonable way. And she left the clip off the thing, and she shaved me bald, like skin fade bald, like skin. So my
Bro.
first day of work in the dead of winter, I showed up broke, not wanting to be there, not wanting to be alone, and
The Uncle
completely
Paulie cut and not a
bald.
speck of hair on the head.
You know, times never, most of the times I go through in life right now never feel as tough as that was. But it was a
Mm.
real growing period for me because
And
it
that
was
was
just
2007 too, like during the recession.
2007. Yeah, it was 2007. So yeah, it was a learning lesson that it could all go away very quick. And I think for the next 10 years, I worked away like it was going to be taken away from me, and it wasn't
Mm.
again.
Have
But
you ever not been able to afford a haircut since then?
never once. No, that was the
Okay.
last time. Thank God.
Nice. All right, good. All right, so a lot of people won't know this, and I don't even think you can articulate it without experiencing it, but the culture that you guys have built is one of the best cultures I've ever been exposed to in any corporate setting.
Thank you.
So there's two questions. One is how much of the culture is intentional? How much of it is organic? So I'll start with that and then I'll ask the next question. So how much of the culture that you guys have built is
Yeah.
intentional versus organic? And if you want to shed light on what type of culture you have from your perspective, you
Sure.
can.
Yeah, I think what speaks to it is that most of the people that are with us have been with us 20 years plus. They've been with us since I met Frank, which is 2000. They've been with one of us. Like I have people who are with me since my first day in the business, and so does he. Right. So I think I'm in the business for 25 years. So so that is first, right? I think me and Frank are both in different ways very service based leaders, where we kind of try to lead from the front. Whereas we're both very very hard workers. We're both understand that our employees are our family and our clients at the same time. So I think we treat it like that, right? Like they're their clients and they're also family. And I think the culture that we've created because of that is a very loyal, will follow you anywhere culture. And kind of what we went through last year. We had a year and a half ago, we had to move the whole company from one place to another, like overnight. And we lost very few people in that transition. So that
How
kind
many
of tells
employees was that total that had to move?
so over 100. It was over 100 people that we had to move in like a month. And it was and for the first 2 weeks of that month, me and Frank had no idea where we were going. So it was crazy, but it just kind of shows that people trust us and they believe in us, and it's reciprocal for just the same for them. I don't think about the things that the people that we have working with us are working on because I know it's going to be done the right way.
Bro, that's incredible. So you gave some of the takeaways there, servant leadership, treat employees as family. I'll ask it just one more time to capture a nugget. Mortgage or non, if you're a leader and you're trying to build a business where you have a culture where people are willing to follow you and you want to build longevity, what's just kind of a final takeaway or nugget you'd share with anybody that's in a leadership position that's trying to build that sticky culture? What are some non-negotiables of things that they need to do leading from the front?
I think be authentic. What you preach is something you should be doing every single day, and be authentic to who you really are. I try to walk into every room as myself. I don't have to put on an act. I don't have to put on a show, but I authentically am working every single day and I'm available every single day. So if I'm asking you to do something, I have to be willing to do it myself, all of it, right? So I think whatever I'm asking of anybody that works for us, I am 1,000% willing to do myself. And just rolling up your sleeve. There's no job too big or too small ever. And I think if you talk to the best leaders in the world, there's an Elon Musk story that I'll just tell quick when he took over Twitter. It's in his book.
Yeah.
He wanted them to reduce the amount of servers that they had. It was eating up a ton of money. He's like, we don't need all these servers. We just need one. And the engineers came in. They were like, you may be right, but it's going to take us 8 months to kind of break that down. He's like, no, it's not. Him and his cousin, I think, went to Home Depot and they got tools, and they went and they took apart two of them themselves, and they got so anyway, like this is the guy who's the richest guy in the world, right? So I don't think any for the right leaders, I don't
At
think any
Home Depot in aisle 6, picking out toys to
yeah,
break
yeah,
apart.
exactly.
The
So
server.
I don't think any job is too big or too small for anybody. That's how I really truly feel.
That's so good. All right, so I love that because that really is the description and definition of servant leadership, being willing to do what you're asking your team to do. Okay, so transition to now the team, right? Because you got a team of people. It's you, Frankie, and a squad. Do you guys have any non-negotiables or like rhythms on an annual or quarterly basis? Things that you're like, yo, we got to always at least do blank to keep this engine humming.
Yeah, I just think in general, like for my purposes, right?
Yeah.
I don't want finger pointing at any time. I just want solutions, right? Like, think
Okay.
mistakes happen. Everybody's kind of, I'll be quick to step up and take blame, and I think Frank will too. But I think what are the solutions to get to the problem, right? And just a positive overall mindset to get things done. And my one non-negotiable, I will give you a non-negotiable. My one non-negotiable is not being responsive to anything, right?
Mm.
As long as you're responsive and you communicate, hey, I'm working on this, or hey, this is going to take longer than I thought, or this may take 2 weeks and not
That's
a
so
day.
good, bro.
But as long as you're communicating fast that you're understand what the issue is and it's being worked on, then you're fine with me. If I
Bro,
get
honestly, working with you guys and being a part of multiple organizations, I will say that is one thing that your group does better than anybody is everybody responds
quick,
like that.
yeah, but bro, I really feel like responsiveness is the key to success. I mean, as you're a successful loan officer at this point, right? You're a successful
Yep.
salesperson. Like
Yep.
people probably say to me, "Well, I know PJ is going to respond quick." Like
Yep.
like no news is always bad news, and if you respond quick, no matter what your answer is, you could always work through it.
That's so good, bro. Yeah, I mean, like if you're a new LO, availability is an actual strategy just to
Definitely,
just to close deals. I mean, just
100%. Yeah.
be around. That's crazy. I already went through all my pages of notes, so now I got to find new paper to write.
That's good. We're doing good.
And bro, like right scrap. All right, so let's keep rolling. All right, so non-negotiable for the team responsiveness. Now we can kind of shift more as Ralph as a human because of the fitness and because of the leadership and because of the ambition. What are some non-negotiables for you? Like, what are some things that you hold yourself accountable to, whether it's rhythms, habits, things you're like, yeah, if the world's on fire, I'm at least going to do blank.
Yeah, I mean, my highest and best skill in life is just being consistent. Um,
Mm,
there's not a day that I won't get up in the morning and move and do something. Like I will get up every single day and my exercise that may day consists of stretching and walking, but I'm going to do something because it's what I need for my brain. So I do it every single day because I need the high from what I get from that to do the rest of the stuff. So non-negotiable for me is that, and PJ, I exercised during COVID. I exercised during if I was sick the last 2 days, I got up and I exercised. So it's a non-negotiable for me that I have to do it. If we're going on a trip or going on vacation with the family and the kids, I have to make sure that I have space to
you still
exercise.
wake up and move even when you travel.
No matter what, no matter where I am, I always get
That's
up.
good.
I always get up and move. And the older I get, the earlier I get up too. So I mean, even on a weekend, I'll be up by 6:30 at the latest, most likely.
Mm,
And I'm moving to do something. And listen, you're going to experience this, and you're starting to experience it already. When you have kids, if you don't do things before they get up, you're not doing
you, yeah, you don't even
it.
get a chance.
Yeah, you don't have a chance. So I have to do stuff in the morning. So that's my one non-negotiable for sure.
That's so good. When did you get into fitness? When did you start working out?
And I played high school sports and I
Okay.
played through college. So I always kind of did. I think I got really bad. I think this is a good transition, right? So in 2007, when I met Frank, I was working at this place, refinance.com, and there wasn't a lot of loans. And the
Not
sales
a lot of
environment,
hair.
yeah, the sales environment was a huge sales floor. And basically, the more deals you closed, the closer you got to the front of the room. And the people at the front of the room got better leads. It was a real system for
Wow. That's
motivation.
smart, bro. That's some good psychology.
It was great psychology, but when I got there, I was low man on the totem pole, so I was all the way in the back of the room. So the system I figured out was if I get here at 7 o'clock in the morning, nobody's here yet. So I would get there at 7 o'clock in the morning. But the problem with that office is that everybody stays till 8:30. If you walked out before 8 o'clock, you would looked at like you were crazy. So I would be there for 12, 13 hours every single day. During that time period, I got completely out of shape. I got fat. I got out of shape. I was like, and Frank will tell the story, but I had like a breaking moment where he brought in like hot dogs or something. I was in the front of the room at this point, but we were all eating like hot dogs. And I remember like afterwards, I was like, that's it, I'm done. And I think since that day, and I was probably around 29, 28 or 29
Yeah.
at that time. I just been so hyper focused on it. And then at 30, My 35th birthday, I stopped drinking.
Wow.
So that helped a lot. So I'm 12 years now without any
How
alcohol.
much of an impact and clarity and just overall fruits have you seen of a life with alcohol and no alcohol?
I mean, I can be social without drinking. So I realized that after I stopped drinking, right? But I think the biggest thing is I didn't like how it made me feel the next day. And what I realized after the fact was that I was off for like 3 or 4 days. So
Wow.
it was killing my kind of fitness. It was like the one thing I think that was missing to kind of get me to a next level. So when like anything else, you get something out of your system, you don't really miss it so much anymore. So as soon as I stopped doing it, it wasn't like, and now it's a question I probably have to answer most when I'm in social settings, like, "Oh, have a drink. Oh, why don't you drink? And what happened?" And
Mm.
it's just like I just stopped. I was never a big
It's a good
drink. I was never
opportunity
a
to be a
big drinker.
separator, bro. Like
Yeah,
when you get the opportunity to ask that question, that means you're doing something that other people aren't.
you're 1,000% right. And it seems to be
So
something that's become popular over the last few years. Like you see it a lot more, which I think is a good thing.
which is a good thing for humanity that now that's
Yes,
the
yeah,
trend.
it's a good thing.
I'll take that trend versus the alternative.
Yeah, 100%. So, but yeah, I mean, I think and since then I've just been, and then now the goal becomes, and you're always fighting age, right? Like, so I'm
Mm.
fighting to stay at the same levels I've been when I was younger as I get older. And I challenge myself. That's always my challenge. I'm always fighting against me, right? Like, so I did this last year. Like, I do a workout on my birthday every single year, the same workout every single year. And every single year I'm trying to beat my number from the previous year. As I get older, that gets harder, right? I have to train with purpose to get to that place, but I'm always competing against myself.
All right, so interesting question. You have let's say a 28-year-old loan officer and a 48-year-old loan officer. What advantages does the 28-year-old loan officer have, and what disadvantages does he have, and vice versa for the 48-year-old LO?
Yeah, so that's a really, really good question. So I think the advantages that the 48-year-old has is that he's honed his craft, right? He understands the business. He was in the business when it was different business, so he kind of understands the good and bad of what we have right now. I think that's a major advantage. For the younger person, I'm going to give you the same answer. He doesn't have any preconceived notion as the business was before, right? So he wasn't part of subprime, and he wasn't part of all this nonsense that went around because a lot of the people that were high producing loan officers during that time period never recovered because and you know what, I can liken this to something you'll understand. I can liken it to the time period during COVID. It was so easy to do business during COVID. When we came out of COVID, some people didn't adjust, and now it's harder to do
No,
business,
they
right?
never recovered, and
You have to
honestly, it was more
understand.
mental than it was
Yes,
production.
a
Like
thousand.
they never mentally recovered.
No, they really didn't. So I think you can understand it as far as like those two. But I think being ignorant to how it was before is sometimes a complete game changer. And if you're younger, you grew up on technology and you're more savvy when it comes to managing a business through technology. Where somebody who's older, it's a disadvantage for them because they didn't grow up with it and they're trying to learn as we go. So I think those are the major things I would say that are the biggest good and bad of those two ages.
That's great feedback. All right, so I got another transition. Who have you looked at for inspiration throughout your career? Like, who are the people that you keep coming back to, and you're like, yeah, these guys fire me up. I've learned from these guys, whether it's industry, whether it's personal development. Like, what's your Hall of Fame personal development team
That's a really good
for
question.
Insight for Ralph?
That's a good question. I mean, I read every single day, so there's always books and there's always people I'm
Okay.
impressed with in books. So like, Tim Grover's book Relentless is probably one of my
Mm,
go-tos.
wow.
I think that was one of the books that changed my whole perception on reality because the book gives you the power to accept who you truly are. When he spoke about Michael Jordan and trained Michael Jordan, all these people, they just were really accepting and comfortable in their own skin. So I think I look to people who are comfortable in their own skin. So I love Kobe, and athletes are always an easy thing to go to for me, but it's always because of mindset. But if I look at those athletes, it's always really because they were comfortable in their own skin more than anything else, right? So like, and I like that. No matter what you're doing, that I equate a lot of my success towards that than more than anything else.
Bro, and I think selling is a sport. Like, I don't think
Definitely.
it really gets talked about in that lens. I know a lot of sales guys relate to sports analogies, but I legitimately believe that selling is a competitive sport.
I couldn't agree with you more. The best loan officers and salespeople are competitive.
Yeah,
They're
and this is I always look to, and this is maybe just like another producer mindset, but what what's everybody producing in the country, like country, not our team, not our branch. I always go to Scotsman's. I'm like, bro, if somebody can do 300 million a year,
you're
that's the
right.
number, not this guy doing 3 million.
No, listen, and that's I always look at that. That's a really great way to look at it, right? I look at it like why is this guy doing better than me in the business? Well, he's utilizing his time better than I am, clearly, because he's using that same time I have in every single
Wow,
day
that's
to,
good,
to
bro.
produce
Why is
more,
he
right?
doing more? Because he's using his time better.
He's using his time. He's just using his time better because there's nothing, you know how this business is, and this is most business in my opinion, but there's nothing different than the next person to you. Is how are you utilizing the time you have in a day to be successful at what you're doing. So like if somebody's doing $300 million a year, it's because and some of that is time on task too. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to do that in your second year. But I think that as you grow in this business, it's really how you're utilizing your time.
Wow, bro, that's really good. How do you use your time, and then what's your time on task? Because those two things together really create the recipe for success.
Those are the
I've
two
been
most
telling the
important.
team it's either you're not showing up enough, or the way you're showing up isn't
Definitely.
with enough quality. Like,
No, what I think, and you saying that is the best part of it, right? No matter what's going on in my day, no matter how stressful what's going on is happening, and kids and properties and stuff that comes up, right?
which we're going to talk about both. I got both questions about
Right.
properties and
The,
kids.
the job still has to get done, right? Like if I ignore the work today, it's still going to be here tomorrow, right? So like I know I'm stressed out, but let me just get through it, because if I don't get through it today, it's going to be more stressful tomorrow. So I think just showing up every single day the same way, I think is a big part of success.
All right, so this was a good, because you touched on this for income. So this is like a subjective question, but I'm curious from your perspective. For a full-time loan officer in 2026, what do you consider minimum volume, either units or monthly volume, to be considered full-time? And what should a target income be for somebody that says, I'm going to commit to this for 40 hours a week?
I think you have to at least be doing $1 million a month, which is in most places two to three deals, right?
100% agree,
And I
bro.
think you have to be making six figures at least, or what's the point? And if I'm being honest with you, so it's
Yeah.
100,000 plus, at the very least, or no matter where you live. I just don't think the stress the stress and the unpredictability and the variability of this job, you're controlled by a market that you can't control every single day, where rates are going to be and everything else. Like if you can't figure out a system that makes you at least that much money, then probably go do something else.
All right, so what do you say to the people, because I'm sure you have people in your organization, not people
Definitely.
online.
Yeah.
What do you say to the group that calls themselves full-time, but has 3 months in a row where they've closed one deal, zero deal, one deal, zero deal? Like, how do you process that conversation? And again, because the culture is so strong, what do those backroom conversations look like when you and Frankie and the team are talking
Yeah.
about these guys that aren't producing?
Yeah, I think I'll start with the backroom conversations. I think the backroom conversations are, you know, it's not just about our total production. If this person is only closing X amount of loans, how are they living every single month? How are they paying their bills? And if people can't earn enough money to pay for the
Wow.
things they need, how long are they going to be happy here and or not go someplace else? So I always address it from that standpoint. Like, look, you're in a business where you can just you have to be plugged in every single day. Thank you. I appreciate it. You have to be plugged in every single day, and you have to earn what's the minimum amount of money that you need to earn to do the things you want to do. If you're not doing that, then this probably isn't your highest and best use. And then what is your highest and best use? Are you just not getting to it? Do you need more help getting to it? But like, what's your minimum amount of money that you need to make to accomplish your goals? All right, well, how do we back into that number? Well, I need to make $80,000 to cover my expenses. Okay, well, you need to close 2 loans a month to get to that number, whatever it is. How do we back it? It has to be an average loan amount of this, and then I keep backing down. What do you have to do to get 2 applications? Well, I have to take 8. All right, so how do you get 8 applications? Well, I need 16 realtors. Okay, well, how do we get you those 16 realtors to get there? But like,
So
you
good.
just keep backing it down, right? Like when I was on leads every single day, it was a simple game of math. I put up in front of my computer, like I have to get the amount of applications I have to get to close the amount of deals I want to do, I have to take this many applications today. And PG, when I can tell you that every month, if I did what I was supposed to do as far as applications, the closing numbers, whether I lost the deal or gained it, whatever it was, it always equal to be around the same. You know what I mean? Like, so it's really a numbers game at the end of the day.
That's so good, bro. All right, that's great feedback. I 100% agree with you. All right, I got 6 questions left. I'm going to see if I can rip all of these in 10 minutes.
Okay, that's good.
All right, so this is more of a fun industry one, and then we'll get more into some intangibles. What do you guys say? And I'm actually curious if you've had these conversations. What do you say to somebody that's a broker that's considering becoming a banker? How do you handle those conversations?
Yeah, that's good. That's a very prevalent conversation in today's market, and I'll tell you from my history, right? Brokers do very, very well in down markets because the banks they're sending loans to are not busy and backed up yet. But if you get into the market that we all want to be in, right? When rates are low and we're ripping and rolling, you want to have access to people that you can make move because they work for the same company as you and they're moving towards the same cause. In a market like today, when it's slower, it's easier to be a broker, right? And be fine. When you lose control of your pipeline because there's so much stuff out of your control because you're sending the loans outside of your pipeline to another bank to underwrite, it becomes very difficult to be a broker. So, and also, I would challenge somebody to do this. Go find somebody that's doing your volume as a broker and what you're doing as a bank, the way you're running your business, and see whose year to date is higher. And I would almost bet to tell you that your year to date is higher as far as income goes than a broker is, because they're limited on how much money they can make per deal. So, I think those are the two things I always point to. Yeah, being a broker right now may work, but you need a system that allows you to scale eventually, depending on how much business you go, and it's easier to build that system within a bank than it is at a broker.
That's a great answer, bro. You know what's crazy? I may probably ask that question 100 times. I've never heard it attached to good market and down market.
And that's just that's my experience, right? Like it's just
that's such a good answer. I mean, and that's so simple too when you think about it, but it just doesn't. I don't hear that come up a lot. All right, so what if you had to attribute? Maybe it's one thing, maybe it's three things. What allowed you guys to do what you did, going from Cardinal to NAF? Like what? Not only to get everybody over, but to then perform and then perform better than the divisions that have already been there for a decade.
I think you have to slowly but surely play the game. Start to install all the things that made you successful at the other company. And this is a different company with different systems and all this stuff. So it takes a minute, right? You have to figure out who the decision makers are that you need, right? Use those decision makers to help you put your systems in play. Show them why your systems work better than everything else. And by the way, a lot of it is proving that you know what you're doing. So a lot of it is at first like, we have to produce. So if we produce and we show them we can produce, because everybody comes in saying they're going to do $100 million.
Volume speaks. It's like volume is loud, no pun intended. Yeah.
So we went from we left Cardinal with between like $70 and $80 million in volume per month. By the time we left, we were doing $200 million a month there at some point, but the market changed.
Bro, I remember we talked month one, and maybe you're about to say this. You guys had 10 million on the board.
Correct. Yeah. We had 10 million on the books. I think we got to about 30 million within our first like 3 months. We did 100 million last month, like 97 million last month. So that was a long, but we won the award.
Bro, just sit on that though, bro.
Yeah. I mean, we were the fastest growing group in the company. We're the third largest group in the company at this point.
Bro, you're probably one of the fastest growing groups in the country. Like if you guys were an IMB and you went from 10 million to 100 million in 24 months.
It was, and listen, that's a lot of people's work into that, and it took a lot to get there. But I just think that volume speaks, and we know that we have to do business to get what we want. So I think it was just a matter of just getting back in the group.
Well, here's the beautiful thing about like how a test becomes a testimony. Forget that you were even doing 70 to 80 million, because the story is we went from 10 million to 100 million in 24 months.
I like that better, actually.
That sounds way better, bro. Get me on a call with that as the story. I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Right. That's a good testimony. You're 100% right.
I mean, it's true, bro. Month one was 10 million.
Yeah, it's crazy.
24 months, 10 to 100. That's awesome.
Frank and I are always positive on where we're realistic but positive, right? I think we're always realistic, but then we're positive about where we have to be. So,
okay, all right. So I'm gonna keep going rapid fire. What's your value prop when you're meeting with new recruits, when you're going into the market? How do you guys package? What makes your group different, and what's your value prop when you're talking with people?
That we want to help you not build.
Actually, let me ask one more question. Yeah. How much do you leverage your value prop as a group versus your banking partner's value prop, since you guys have been with multiple different banks?
I think from our purpose, we're pretty insulated. Like we're a self-sustaining company, so it's easy to sell the value prop of the company based off of what we do always. But the company we have here has some really good niches, and I use the niches to sell for sure. They have some product niches that I use from a culture standpoint. But our value prop is always the same and always be the same. We want to help you build a business, not a pipeline. Like we don't want you to build a pipeline. We want you to help you build a real sustaining business that'll last the test of time, right? So our value prop is always the same. We're going to show you how to build a business. We're going to show you how to really run a P&L. We're going to show you how to really move your files fast. We're going to show you how to really build a brand. Like we're going to help you build a real business and not just a pipeline.
That's so good. All right, so now this is like 4 random questions that have nothing to do with mortgages, but it's just whatever they came out. Okay. How important is it to you to be a good dad?
Number one, That's definitely my purpose in life. I don't think it's even close at this point. It's the thing I enjoy most. It's the thing that I think about the most. Even though I'm working all the time, I'm constantly thinking about what my kids are thinking and what they're
Okay.
doing and how to motivate them. And it's a hard thing to figure out. You'll figure. By the way, you relive stuff from your own childhood the whole way through, right? So it's like,
Mm,
oh, this is why I did this, and this is why I was thinking that, and this is why I want to be different than that or the same or whatever. But like, I think it's number one priority for me always. I definitely lead from there. Even to the point where if I'm doing anything work related, it's really got to be before 6 or 7 o'clock at night because I can't do anything
mm.
after that because my kids always have things, and I have FOMO for missing out on that stuff, so I don't want to miss any of it.
And what advice would you give to a top producer who I think we probably have one of the noisiest businesses where
Definitely.
you could seem busy all the time and actually be getting absolutely nothing done. So, and some people do get a lot done.
Right.
So, what would your advice be to somebody that's a top producer that maybe just had their first kid or their kids are young and they're like, man, I want to be a good dad, but I also want to make money. How do you integrate those two things?
Yeah, I think you just have to adjust your hours, and,
Mm,
and create boundaries around your hours a little bit. And again, you can always still communicate fast. Like if somebody calls you at 8 o'clock at night and you're putting the baby to sleep, it's like, hey, just got something going on right now with my kid, but I know what you need. I will touch base with you at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, right? Like as long as you set the expectation, I think you can create boundaries around that. I think I can still be responsive. I'm always responsive. I'm always going to respond to text messages, always. You may call me, I may be on a basketball court, and you may hear it in the background. But if I'm not coaching, then I will pick up the phone and I will say, "Hey, I got it. I'll do this, this, and this. Let's make an appointment for tomorrow at 11 o'clock." So my schedule is so tight. Like I'm on my schedule. Everything is scheduled. Like if I'm not scheduled, I can't do it. So I think that's the only thing I preach to people. Hey, just schedule time with me. So as long as I have my schedule, bro, I can do everything. You know what I mean? So I think it's just matter of like scheduling
bro,
time,
that's
and
so good.
my
That's so good.
calendar
By the
is
way.
is tight.
That
Yeah,
I'm like just starting to get into that world where I'm realizing the calendar is king.
ugh, it's the
Because
most important.
especially as the amount of people that wanna have access to you increases, if there's not an actual window just to be available, even if there's a call I wanna take, but my
Yeah.
day's stacked,
Yeah.
there's literally no window in the day for me to even take calls.
No, you have to really set it up and you have to maximize every single minute of the time. And sometimes that feels crazy. Sometimes that feels like I'm rushing from place to place. And sometimes that can be overwhelming. But it's the only way to really operate. And again, your life when you have kids becomes about them and not about you anyway. So like that's my sacrifice right now. And it'll be my sacrifice until they go to college or whatever it is. And then I'll be upset that they're gone. But I'll have a lot of free time. It'll open up a lot once they're not here. You know what I mean? So
100%. Alright,
yeah.
so because I only got 3 questions left, I'm gonna ask one more question on the fly.
Yeah.
So, at what point do you determine because this is a delicate balance, right? One of the keys to success is fast responsiveness, but then the other thing with growing is the amount of people that have access to you increases. So how do you discern between I'm just not going to reply to this versus I'm going to reply to everything? And like, how have you balanced availability as your network's
Yeah.
grown and more communication starts to come into your funnel?
I put a value on time, my time. I really put a distinctive value on my time. And if I think that something is not going to be worth important time of mine, right? Then I'm not going to respond, or I'm gonna write them back that I don't have time for it right now in a nice way, and then we can speak another time, whatever it is. And some things you can't respond to at all. If you're somebody who's wasted my time a few times on the same different
Okay,
things,
that's a good rule.
yeah, at some point you stop getting a response, and that is my response, right? Because you know first time you do it, first time you do it, shame on you. Second time you do it to me, shame on me, right? So it's like I'm not going to let that continue to happen. So if you've wasted my time completely, then I just stop responding. But I try to be responsive to everybody, but I do put an importance on my time. Like if we're working together and you call me, like I got a huge issue at 8 o'clock at night, I'm picking up the phone and we're going to figure it
That's
out. Like
good.
you know what I mean? Like so,
Yep.
it's like it just depends on who and what it is.
The
But
quality of who's reaching out and their history of how they've handled your time in the past.
exactly, that's exactly right.
That's good, bro. That's a great answer. All right, so last three. What's your goal setting process? Like, what's your rhythm been for setting goals?
So that's a really, really good question. I try not to make huge long-term goals, if I'm being honest
Okay.
with you. A lot of my goals are short-term goals.
Okay.
Um, so because I think it's so hard to predict stuff that's going to happen. Like oh, we want
Like
to
you're
be.
talking 90 days, 30 days, 6 months,
Yeah,
12 months.
like yeah,
What?
I'll make goals by the quarter a lot of times.
Okay.
Like this is what I want to do over the next 4 months, or I
Okay.
want to be in. If it's a running goal, right? I want to be back up to 10 miles at this kind of pace by the end of February, right? Like so, I'll make goals like that
What's your fastest pace been on mile?
for a mile.
Yeah.
or for like it depends what kind of race it is. Like if I was just a flat out mile, I've run sub 5:30. Um,
Sub 5:30.
yeah, and that in
Bro,
the
you're
last
a
couple of
dog.
years, but in a
All right,
5K,
so what about like the 6 to 7 mile races? Like
so
those like
I've run a 5K in 18:47, I think is my best time, and I've run a 10K in. I want to say my last time was 37. The last time I did was like 37:40 or something like that.
wow.
So, but yeah, I mean,
What's
I
the
can cook
longest
short
distance you like
term.
to go?
I'm back. I was hurt. I hurt my foot, so I just got back to running like 5 weeks ago. So I'm back up to like I ran 5 miles today, so I'm
Okay.
back up to that. I don't really want to run more than a half. I've never run a marathon. I saw you ran a marathon, by the way. That's freaking amazing. Like,
Yeah.
great job.
And bro, no strategy or game plan. So
You just went out, dude. That's the best way to do it because it's so much. It's so mental. Like I want to run a. I'll run a half. I've run halves, but I you know,
you don't need to run a marathon for fitness. Like,
no,
like there's really nothing you get done in those last 13 miles that has anything to do with cardiovascular health other than just
no.
mind.
It's very mental marathons, bro. You know,
Yeah.
I have a cousin that I work with now who runs 15, 60 mile races, and I just think I think he's out of his mind. But you know, I also like to do other things, so I like to kind of hybrid train. So sometimes the running is a detriment to a lot of that. So I try to. I'm just trying to be in good shape at this point in my life. So I'm trying not to hurt myself. So that's kind of where I put my training.
Man, yeah, I feel you. All right, so every time you talk, I have like another 5 questions, but I'm just gonna stick to the agenda so we can stay on
Okay.
track. We'll do a part 2 sometime in the future. All right, so last 2 goals. So getting into investing, finance pillar. I'll make it twofold just so we can cover it. So when was the first time you started intentionally investing? What's kind of been your experience with, you're earning ordinary income as a leader in the mortgage business, you're investing, like how's that relationship been between income and assets?
Yep.
And then when's the right time for somebody to start investing? So you could just go off on a little rant on all things investing.
Yeah. So I bought my first house at 23. I bought a
Okay.
multifamily at 23. And then I made some mistakes in real estate. I bought condos in Florida right before the crash happened, and that was a big mistake. So I've learned a lot of lessons. And then what I usually do as far as this business goes, I've learned that I don't need a lot to live, right? A house is just a house, a car is just a car. I'm at a point in life where I don't need extravagant things. So whenever we're running and the business is making a lot of money, because this business is very cyclical, right? So it's so when I'm at a high, I'm going to take that money, I'm going to put it someplace I know I can get to it. So real estate, in my opinion, for me, is always something that I can conservatively do that I know I can get to, right? I can always get to the money. Like I can cash out refinance, I can sell a property, whatever it is. So, when we've gone through booms, I've bought a lot, right? And then I managed through the kind of down period. So right now we're in a little bit of a down period. I haven't bought a lot recently. I'm building a couple of properties right now. Like I'm trying to transition from being a landlord to really building more. Okay. So I'm working on a couple of those projects. But it's all learning experience.
When is it the right time for somebody to start investing?
I think whenever you can. I think always. I think we don't have a pension in this business, right? We have a 401k, we don't have a pension. So I was always thinking of. I've been thinking of retirement since I'm 21 years old, and now when I'm at a place where I have enough for retirement, but I still need money for today. So I don't think it ever becomes enough. But I think. That's our safety net. Like that's. I think I would. The second you get a job where you can start putting money away, and it starts with your 401k. My first 401k is worth a lot of money today, right? Like I'm 25 years on a 401k, right? So I think immediately do that because it's pre-tax and you're not going to see the money anyway. It's money you're never going to lose. So you start doing that immediately. I think outside of that, there's so much information out there now, but I try to stay in my lane. I have stock, but I'm not a day trader because I lose money.
This is like another broad question, but do you think every American has the ability to become a millionaire in their life?
Yes, but it's all relative, right? It's all how low you can keep your expenses and how much you can save. So yes, 1,000%. It's going to take some people longer than others, for sure, but it's all about how much you're willing to sacrifice to save, because it really all comes down to that, right? It's all like, what am I willing on a daily basis not to have to sacrifice to save? Am I willing to give up Starbucks? Okay, well that's another $75 to $100 a week I can put away. It's $400 a month. It's $5,000 a year. That $5,000 a year in
10 years is 50 grand at 8%.
It compounds, right? So it's like, I just think when people, this is actually a good. Odell Beckham was on a podcast, and I don't know if you read about it, but he said he was complaining that $100 million, his $100 million contract really wasn't enough money, and he blew through it. And everyone's like, well, how do you both do $100 million? Really easily, if you look at it, right? Because after taxes and agent, that 100 million was probably 40 to 50 million, right? 40 to 50 million over 5 years, right, is $10 million a year. What is his overhead? Does he have, $100 to $200,000 a month in expenses? Does he have an entourage?
He's a $12 million penthouse with a payment of $300,000 a month.
There you go, bro. So it's easy. Like, people don't understand it. It's all relative to what your lifestyle is. It's really easy to blow through the money depending on your lifestyle. So and for guys that the money's going to be short lived, there's got to be. I have a nephew who's plays basketball for West Virginia this year. He transferred there. He was the number 1 3-point shooter in the country last year. He's number 1 right now too. He got a lot of money. He got a lot of money to transfer. Very close to 7 figures to transfer and play basketball next year. But he's a kid. He's 22 years old. You know what I mean? So, like, what happens then? And I explained to him, I was like, this money isn't as much as you think it is. And it's got to last you the next 7 years of your life until you figure out what you want to do if basketball doesn't work out. Which, he's only 5'10", so basketball may not work out, right? So, like, so he's got to figure out how he's going to use that money to last. So, it was a good exercise. It's like, hey, that money is, you're going to lose 30% to taxes, right? So it's gone. So the government takes it. And then what are your expenses? So you have to, it's all about your lifestyle when it comes to investing too. You know what I mean? How much am I willing to sacrifice for my future?
Bro, this is gold, bro. There's so much gold in this. All right, so last question. I'll make it sales and related in general, not just mortgage, because I honestly think if you're excelling in mortgages, you can pretty much do about any sales job and probably have some success.
I would agree with that.
All right, so I'm 25. I'm starting in sales today. I want to make 100,000. I don't know where to start. What's my initial playbook? Like, what am I doing today to go from, I had some W-2 job where I was making 40 to 50 grand. I listened to this podcast. I'm ready to bet on myself. I'm going all in. I want to go make 6 figures. What's my initial playbook?
I would go find somebody like you, who's built it from zero over the last 3-4 years. And hey, what can I do? I just want to be around you every single day. I want to see how you operate. I want to see what you're doing. I want to learn from your mistakes. I think the biggest thing that younger people in any business are missing is that the biggest learning, like if they go just sit with you, right? And they come sit with you every single day and sit in front of your office. The 3 years of mistakes you made, they already got back, right? They got that time back. So they're already ahead of the game. So I think going to find the right person that's willing to mentor you by leading by example is the immediate thing I would try to do. And by the way, it's a thing I didn't do when I was young. I didn't go let somebody, I was around good salespeople that were just naturally good salespeople, but I didn't have anybody mentoring me. And I made 1,000 more mistakes than I probably should have made.
Bro, that's so good. All right, so I could legitimately ask you questions all day long, but we've already blown through the list and had like 6 freestyle questions in there. So, bro,
Awesome.
Thank you so much for your time. I know you already talked about how much you value your time, so it means a lot to me that you would take the time to do this. So if anybody wants to connect or follow with you, I think Instagram or LinkedIn are the 2 best platforms, right?
For sure.
So
yeah.
I will post links below when we drop the episode of how people can connect with you, follow you. So, bro, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your wisdom, and I appreciate you being on.
Thanks for having me.